Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. and I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the Fargo Board of Education. We will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I will now look for approval of the agenda. Namal?
I would like to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Namal and a second from Jason. Any conversation? Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposition, same sign. And that motion passes 8-0. And at this time, we would normally recognize the audience. However, we did not have anyone sign up. So we will go ahead and move right along into our reports. And our first report is from FEA President Laura Christensen.
Hi, school board. It's nice to see you. I mean, I've saw many people up here over the summer lots of times, but now it's official again. Here's the thing. This is what I have to say today. It's good to be back. It's good to be back with the kids. It feels like a great year. I'm hearing from people all over the district. Yeah, it's a good start. And the phone thing is good. So this week we've started our FEA executive board has started meeting. We have building rep training this week. We have that even before we have our first building rep meeting. We've got a lot of new people engaged. We always like lots of voices and new voices, so good year so far. It's a good year. Okay.
Thank you very much. And then next, we will go to our admin report.
Dr. Gross and Mrs. Idness, do you want to do the enrollment report?
So we thought it'd be nice to update again after our starting day for 9/9. And I know we have the RSP projection and current enrollment. So as we can see, we are still down about 80 kindergartners from predicted, but we did pick up students from other areas. So the elementary is down 36 students from the RSP projection as of today. And so again, it's about 99% accurate about how many kids we're serving at the elementary going forward. Again, just to note on the right side, the VA or Virtual Academy for elementary, we are currently serving 2 elementary students. So that would be kind of the highlight. And the EA Elementary, which is our Explorer Academy, we have 11 elementary students at this time. And so then I'll let Bob update for the secondary.
Thank you. So if you take a look at rows 12 through, I think it's 20, that's the data for the middle school and the high school. Missy, would you mind just sliding that up just slightly? Thank you. What you can see if you look at the middle school numbers, this is accurate. We are right on the RSP projection with the number of students that we have. There are some variances between grade levels, but in aggregate, right about where they're at. If you look at the high school, 9 through 12, we are down 3 students from that prediction. So very accurate predictions of numbers as we move forward in the upper 99th percentage. The one thing I just want to draw your attention to is grade 11 and the number of students that are there at 807. That is different than the grade before and the grade after. It's just a small class, just for whatever reason. We will have to account for that next year as that group moves from being juniors to seniors and then seniors to graduating. So there's the update from secondary.
Thanks. Did you want to add something? Oh, okay. Do we have any questions? Comments? Okay.
So for my report, if you had a chance to see the article in the Fargo Forum on the lead teacher program, also was on the radio with Steve Hallstrom today to talk about that. We have a group of 10 teachers along with Missy. So Bennett, am I correct? No. Yes, Bennett, Jefferson, and then Carl Ben will be going. This is grant funded to be able to go to, it'll be into the Mesa area and be able to see programming and what it looks like in other districts. The program itself, the benefits are you typically are seeing more adults in a room with kids. So you leverage your paras and not just going to sit in the room by the kid that might struggle with behaviors or might struggle with have learning needs. You're actually having them really take on an active role in the classroom of leading groups and teaching. You really leverage student teachers. And in our area, we've got a lot of that. And then you're also leveraging a lead teacher, and that lead teacher, it was on the radio today, they said also the lead teacher teaches it, and then they go somewhere else, and then the other people fill in. And I said, no, that's not the case. The lead teacher is really making sure that the team of teachers is aligned and understands the roles that they're going to play. The idea that, hey, this person might be better in math instruction than me, that's the person that's going to lead that. This person is better at teaching reading. They're going to lead that, but we're going to have this team that is going to work towards that. And if you might think of like the middle school concept a little bit, it really is pushing that down into the elementary. And with the big difference being the lead teacher actually is going to do coaching with their peers. And you usually pay that lead teacher at a higher rate because they've chosen to take on additional duties. I reiterated multiple times today, he kept saying, is this going in place? Is this starting? I said, this is an exploration. A lot of districts that have done this nationally have done this at a cost neutral or cost savings, because when your class sizes will go up, but not from 22 kids to 30, it might be 22 to 25 or 26, but then you're putting 2 or 3 adults in that room and you're taking attrition. So districts that couldn't find teachers, there was one in Texas. When they started this about 6 years ago, they had 900 openings. When I was there a year ago, they had 5. And they had used attrition and they had used it to balance their budget. But it was really good in kids. Student achievement went up. Teacher attendance went up. Teacher retention went up. And the big thing that a lot of them saw is teacher isolation went down. Even when we have and we push on our people to collaborate, which they really do a wonderful job in this district, they still have to close their doors and teach. So this is a way to potentially combat some of the things we're seeing with our teachers and provide them with a really strong team. So we'll share more after that team goes down, and then talk about what, if anything, we're going to try to do and implement in some of our pilot schools. Today we had our secondary principals meeting. Dr. Gross led that and did a wonderful job. But a couple things that I think were interesting just for you to be aware of is we're having really initial conversations on a cosmetology pathway for CTE. We had met with Skills Cut Barber College and got Dr. Jonas involved in that conversation. And cosmetology is something that a lot of our kids express interest in. And what we find out is kids will go into it and either it's absolutely the perfect fit or it is not even close. And so we're trying to figure out how can we expose them to a little bit more of what that would be, and whether that's a pathway or if it's just a course or if it's kids just going to the site and working there. We're trying to figure that part out. And we're getting really close on being able to start a firefighting pathway next year through the CCCTECs, through the Career Innovation Center, where we'd have about 15 spots, and our kids, West Fargo, Northern Cass, Central Cass, would be able to go and get their firefighting degree and be able to serve on their local firefighting groups. So that one is a huge need. We met with Fargo, West Fargo, and some of the rural fire departments, and they were like, please do this. And so we're thinking if we can do that, then we can eventually get ourselves into a police pathway, which some districts have done nationally, and public services pathway. We already have an emergency pathway. So just some exciting things, good conversations happening, trying to meet community needs. The other group we had in today that talked with the principals was TNT Fitness and the ABLE Games. If you've not heard of the Able Games, really, really remarkable project. The Able Games is putting same age peers with kids that typically have intellectual disabilities. And then they compete together in kind of an Olympic Games style. They're changing the format a little bit this year. So what TNT has offered is an assembly where the high school and middle school kids can go in and cheer on their peers as they compete, opening them up for a $1,000 scholarship. And then next year going in to be really, really strong in terms of entering the competitions. I can share more on that. It's not as clear until you really see it in person, but I will tell you, if you ever have a chance and you've ever been to an Able Games competition, it will be a life-changing moment because you will see the very best that is in our kids and honestly the very best in our adults. The other part that's really interesting with Able is they have developed curriculum and some AI to go along with that, where if a teacher put in, I have a kid with this limitation physically, it will actually build the lesson and show you how to make sure that kid can be included in the lesson with a peer who will help. So really good stuff that TNT has done that we're gonna start trying to work into our schools at a pretty significant level. And the last thing are just a couple kind of FYIs. Next week, Laura, Dr. Gross and I will start the 6th assignment work group next Wednesday. And we've got a good group of people from all 3 schools that will do that. And then Dr. Gross and I and Dr. Hansen in early October will start some listening sessions related to evidence-based reporting, really trying to get down to the philosophy of what we believe about grading and reporting and finding out from our teachers what works and what doesn't work as we try to make sure that system is accurate, timely, and informational. So those are my big things.
Great, thank you so much for that update. So I do want to point out, if you see on our agenda, we are holding a public hearing at 6 p.m., but since we're about 20 or so minutes away from that, I think we will move, approve the consent agenda and then probably start on business, and then we might have to stop that conversation. So first I'll look for approval of our consent agenda. Robin?
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, I have a motion from Robin and a second from Greg. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposition, same sign. That motion passes 9-0. And we're going to go ahead and start business item number 8. If it gets close to 6 o'clock and we're not done, we will pause for our public hearing and then come back to it. So it looks like we have memo number 32, which looks like a very exciting memo to talk through here. And I'm going to turn to Dr. Steiner for that.
Yeah, thank you. And James, Mr. Hand is here too, and I'll have him come up and answer some questions as well. But on August 7th, we received the qualifications for architects. Then on August 26th, James, Rob from Wolpert, Bill, and I interviewed our short list of architects. It was a very interesting, probably 5 hours. Got a lot of good information, and everybody is very qualified to do the work. It's just very interested to get their perspective on how they will do the work, and then giving us an opportunity as a district to make sure it aligns with our vision and mission for what this new building should look like. And so we had made the recommendation, we scored out, and Icon Architectural Group was the group that came out ahead. And I would if you have questions, James could answer any questions about that process or why we made that choice, and Bill could provide some feedback as well.
Okay, Melissa?
Before we get started, I just want to announce that after consulting with Tara, we determined that I have a conflict under North Dakota Century Code and our board policy GP 11. So I will be abstaining from conversation and voting for this.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. How about before we get a motion, could you share with us what set this particular group apart? So we have a little more information, and then we'll go ahead and take a motion from somebody at the board, and then we can have more board discussion.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. And, all 3 firms that we interviewed, as Corey mentioned, were definitely qualified, and any one of them could have performed the work and done a nice job. Icon in particular, just kind of on every level, just sort of took everything up a notch and really came ready to hit the ground running and utilize the resources that we've been developing leading up to this, including the pre-design and the design standards and ed specs, and really just, get going and build on that. And I think they did that to the highest level, and I think that was one of the things that stood out. They have performed really well on the current project that they're involved in. They're the architect on the maintenance projects that we're working on, and they have performed extremely well on those. So that certainly helps. But yeah, I don't know. Bill or Corey, do you have anything to add about what stood out with Icon?
One thing that really stood out during the presentations was some previous work they've done with school districts that had school consolidation, and the work that they did with the students and then with the public to create a recognition of all of the schools that made up a new high school. And they even came up with a recognition wall that they said, had we not started with student feedback, I don't know we would have ended up here, but it was a great presentation.
One of the things I thought was really interesting they did is when they were chosen as the firm, they immediately asked all the buildings, all the people that went to those buildings to send in pictures. And they started gathering this massive thing of pictures that they used then for the wall, but also used to create some things that they could share with the public. It was just a very unique way to do that. The other part is they, in their presentation, they had a former superintendent. We'd been in North Dakota superintendent for many years, and had just left the field to work with them. And he talked a lot about how the space has to be about belonging. And we really have to always make sure we're centering conversations around kids. And to have somebody who's been in there and he had just led a building project in Beulah that failed a referendum and then came back. And when they put kids at the middle, really had some success. So those are some things that stood out for me.
Great. How about we get a motion then and we'll move on with some more discussion. Okay, great.
Yeah, I move that we accept the proposal from Icon Architectural Group for architect services for the new elementary school at the Horace Mann site and issue a contract accordingly.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Greg and a second from Nikki. So do we have any discussion or more questions then? Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I think it was, it's been a while, at least a year. But we went through a lot of effort to kind of, as a district, come up with standard like specifications that we wanted to put out through all of our buildings to maintain a good standard on any future projects. Could you speak a little bit about how that may have played into this process?
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit, but that was one of the major differentiators in the 3 interviews, was that this team really latched on to, we did provide the ed specs, the design standards, and the pre-design to all the firms in the invitation to interview. And we let them come and talk about, and we asked, what do you do with this and how does it affect the process? And Icon was the group that stood out that had clearly really already dived into those documents and came with a plan that essentially skips the schematic design phase because there's so much information already there that we can essentially skip right to that next milestone of design development and save time on the design phase process, work to clarify any questions they might have with those, but also work with us to refine those documents as well, because this project is such an amazing opportunity with brand new standards to stress test them, right? And working with a project team to make sure that the things we have in there, make sense, and that, I'm sure they all make sense, but there's always room for improvement. You know, we've got a baseline of data and information and standards that really are meant to be living and meant to be improved. And they really laid out that kind of how they would help us use this opportunity appropriately. And like I said, just really hit the ground running, which with a construction start this summer, it's going to be important that we have a efficient design process and a collaborative team. And I think they really exemplified that.
Thank you. Do we have further questions or comments? Oh, sorry, somebody, right? Nikki.
Either which way. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to take a look at belonging in the space. I think that's really critical, especially when we're looking at some of our younger learners that will be ready to learn when they feel like they belong and fit in that space. I think this will be good for our teachers, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Allie?
Just as we're looking, obviously, per Dr. Steiner's report, the standards that we have here, I'm assuming, meet with being able to do this teen teacher approach as well, if this is something that we look for. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we are ready for roll call.
Gullickson,
Yes.
Jason Nelson,
Yes.
Kristen Nelson,
Yes.
Robin Nelson,
Yes.
Bollenberger,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Day,
Yes.
President Christensen, Meinier.
Yes, and that motion passes 8-0. Okay, what time is it? 5:52. How long does it take to appoint NDSBA convention delegates?
We have a time certain at 6.
Okay, all right. And do we usually do volunteers for that? Yeah. Do we know how many we need? Anne Marie's not here. Okay, 5. Okay, would anybody like to volunteer to be a delegate for the NDSBA convention? Okay, we have Robin and we have Kristen. Who else wants to do it? We need 3 more. Okay, Melissa.
It's my turn.
We have Greg. Okay, that's 4. I need 1 more. Jason. Okay. Thank you very much to you 5 for volunteering to be delegates. Okay, let's go ahead and do our committee reports then. We'll just start with Kristen.
Not much for me this week. I did go to the Fargo Youth Initiatives meeting on Sunday. They are very excited to meet you, Dr. Steiner. So we're gonna have to chat so I can get something on the books there. And I just really want to engage with them about their community as learners and their experiences in the building. And we talked about, if you have an idea, what's one thing that can make your school experience at FPS better. And I put aside phones and backpacks because backpacks are the #1 issue now. So they talked about sustainability, so recycling. That's a really big point for them that they would like. They're wanting more access to recycling, so they're putting some ideas together for that. Without the cell phones, one big thing that they talked about was engagement with their peers. And so, which was interesting. So I'm like, tell me more about that. What does that mean? And so they talked about they just talking and talking to each other as live people across the table. So that's really interesting. They do like the idea of student-led study groups, tutoring groups, things like that. So they have, they're a smart bunch. They have a lot of really, really cool ideas that I think you'd be interested in. So we can have a conversation about that. But that is all.
Great, thank you very much. Melissa.
Yeah, so I went to my outside liaison meeting last Thursday, which is the Native American Commission, and that was really fascinating. I learned that we are one of the first communities, I think, in the country to have a Native American Commission, so that was really gratifying to learn. And they highlighted a lot of the kind of outreach activities they're going to be doing this fall. The first is on September 30th. It is Orange Shirt Day, which is Truth and Reconciliation Day, and it's a day to honor and acknowledge survivors of Indian boarding schools. And so, if you see people wearing them, that's why, or choose to wear an orange shirt yourself. They have not planned or solidified anything, but hope to do a powwow this fall, and then something to celebrate the holiday that is officially called Columbus Day, but Indigenous Peoples Day. So I look forward to working with them throughout the year, and that's the only report I have.
Thank you. Greg?
Yeah, the only thing I have is planning met last week, and really, I think the main highlight from that is at our next school board meeting in a couple weeks, we're going to be taking a look at our fiscal year 26 budget, and we're still projecting or anticipating that we are operating at a deficit, which is a big deal, and I would hope that everybody anticipates we will be discussing that a lot until we don't project a deficit.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, we'll take Robin and then we'll pause for our public hearing.
Okay, I've got 3 minutes to kill until 6 o'clock time certain.
I think we wanted like a minute or two in there.
Okay, good. Okay, my liaison school, Ed Clapp, met with Principal Jennifer Schultheis and Assistant Principal Nikki Nelson. They echoed exactly what Laura said. It seems like a really smooth start to the school year. They specifically shared their appreciation for Dr. Steiner's student-centered approach. She spoke highly of the critical role of mental health support and sense of belonging as a driver in boosting student achievement. And in fact, she attributes those things as a driving factor that Ed Clapp came off of the targeted academic improvement status so quickly. Federal funding cuts, they have a partnership with UND, and some of the secondary federal funding cuts for mental health were cut. They work with UND's student field work that have been working directly with their kids. That ends at the end of this calendar year. UND came up with some extra funds to finish it through the end of the school year. Very interested in the upcoming specified mill levy vote. And I always ask one thing that they want the board to know, and they said our school families are a great representation of our entire community, and it's a very special place. Secondly, funding, federal, GAC related. The House version of the budget is much different than the Senate's. Cuts federal funding for Department of Education, Department of Justice. We're looking at slashing in funding by Title I. Also eliminating full service community schools in Title II, supporting effective instruction grants. And it is likely that there will be a continuing resolution in the House. In fact, I just heard Representative Fedorchak say that on the radio today when I was driving around. And then finally, Governmental Affairs Committee did meet with their, as our formative meeting. I got to tell you, our staff support is knocking it out of the park. Catherine Edgerton, she had great notes. The key takeaway is we want to focus on legislator engagement. So we kind of broke it down into two areas. Dr. Steiner and his cabinet will really focus on the educational aspects to connect with our legislators, and the committee will focus on the relationship building and engagement. And the messaging would very much be based on, for cabinet, really the effects of the decisions that our state legislature made in the last session and how it affects our district going forward. So I'm pretty excited about the year. We've got a great a great committee. And then in closing, since we mentioned self-directed academy and virtual learning, a lot of those students don't have as much access to some of the inter-school stuff, and we have several that are not only from Fargo Public Schools, but also around the country that participate in virtual learning at our teen club at Boys and Girls Club. So it's pretty cool that we can partner on some of those. So good kids. And I asked them how the self-directed academy works, and I learn a lot. They're pretty excited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It is 6 PM, and so we do have a public hearing. Do we have anyone in the room for that to speak? Because Bill,
He was going up to get them.
okay. There is one? No one. Do I still have to read the thing? Okay. We have now reached Agenda Item 6, which is a public hearing on our property tax levy in compliance with North Dakota Century Code 57-15-02.2. Citizens have an opportunity to present oral or written comments regarding the property tax levy for Fargo Public Schools. And it is now 6 PM, the designated time for the hearing. I will open our public hearing regarding the property tax levy. Those who would like to present oral or written comments may do so at this time. I would ask that those desiring to provide oral comments please walk forward and address us at the podium using the microphone. Please state your first and last name for the record. No? Okay. Do we have to give it like a minute or two, or is it? Okay, okay. All right, since we have no one here to speak to this issue, it's 6:01 and I'm going to close that hearing. Okay, thanks. We can move on now with our board reports, and I will go to Nikki.
Thank you. CEA will meet October 3rd. We haven't started yet because that was the first we could get on the schedule. Attended first GAC meeting, thought we had a great meeting. And I will now start reaching out to my liaison schools. I love to wait until school gets going so I can see the kids and staff kind of in the buildings. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Sounds great. Namal.
Well, I have emailed Ben Franklin, Virgil Academy, and Washington School regarding my plan to visit. I have received a response from Mr. Kien, the principal at the Washington, and I'm scheduled to visit the school on September 29th. I also attended planning committees, and what else am I missing here? Nothing. That should be all.
Okay, thank you. Jason.
I just attended the 2 committees I'm on, nothing else to report.
Thank you. Allie?
Yes, so I had the opportunity to spend some time at Ben Franklin. I've got a new middle schooler this year, so we had school pictures already, which was like crazy fast. I wasn't even prepared for it, but it was great to get into the school and see all the kids back and see all the 6th graders trying to figure out how to move around from classes. And it was great to, a great buzz within the building, and it was really great to be a part of. I want to do something a little bit different today. I want to take a quick opportunity to share this. This is from a teacher that posted this on the first day of school, and so I'm just going to read his post because I just think it's amazing. So today was the first day of my 9th year of teaching, and it was awesome. The kids are great. I work with the best colleagues in the business, and the general vibe in the school was entirely positive. Prior to this year, the first day was generally quiet. Kids would fill in any downtime throughout the day with immediate visit to their screens. Today, that downtime was filled with joking with classmates, catching up on summer highlights, and having real, present conversations with peers that kids knew and those they didn't. The lunchroom was loud in the best way possible, and people waved and fist bumped each other while passing each other in the hallways. I've never felt so at peace and energized after the first day of school. Kids were noticeably happier and engaged with one another. They said, low-key, this phone ban is actually kind of nice. My most reserved and at-risk students shared their goals and interests already on day 1. Disconnecting from electronics and connecting with each other is what life is all about. Yes, there is anxiety from parents and kids about this move, and rightfully so, but I hope it provides some comfort to know that kids are already benefiting on day 1 of the device ban. Thank you to our legislators for making a tough decision. I am confident that all of the school community will come to realize the benefits in academics, emotional well-being, and social well-being. So I just wanted to share that. I've heard nothing but really great positives around this. And so I will also echo this teacher sentiment in thanking our legislators for making that tough decision for us. And I'm already seeing the benefits in our kids, and I know our educators are as well. So.
Great, thank you. Yes, I've also heard a lot of really wonderful positive things. So I think that was good for our district overall. Okay, so for my report, I will share it. Governance met yesterday. One thing I'll share from that is that I guess Cabinet Admin is working on a scorecard for our district that will be publicly available, and it will reflect our strategic plan. And it's just another great way to kind of tell our story about what we're doing here at Fargo Public Schools. So I'm looking forward to that. Also want to share that I was invited to attend an award ceremony at the Adult Learning Center. I think it was a week or two ago, and Fatima Mohid from that particular school was named Student of the Year by the North Dakota Association for Lifelong Learners. So this is a statewide organization, and one of her teachers submitted an application and she was selected. I went to the award ceremony and it was absolutely amazing. Her story is just one of persistence, and it's also one, I think, of the power of education and what that Adult Learning Center provided for her. She started last year in the fall. So when she started 1 year ago, she had very, very limited English and she had very little formal education. When she started school, she would walk to school every day. And she even said, because you don't skip school. And she walked even in sub-zero weather. And her teacher told a story about how one day she was sitting in class and she had her hands in between her legs and she was saying that her hands hurt. And she made it very clear that this was funny. Okay, so it's okay, it was funny. But she had frostbite. And she didn't understand, like, it's really cold here in Fargo. So, like, you need gloves and it's cold outside. So she got gloves, and now she makes sure that whenever a new student shows up, they also understand that they need gloves. And she said that was a funny story. She laughed as she was telling it. But a year later, she has a full-time job. She bought herself a car. She's advanced her education, and she wears gloves. So I think it's a phenomenal story. She also has 3 children. I think they're all elementary, maybe middle school age. And part of this award is that she actually gets to take a trip to Bismarck, where she will be presented with the award, and I think she'll get to spend some time at the Capitol. So it's just a phenomenal story overall. I also want to point out that watching the educators and the learners interact there is something super special. I mean, there's so much appreciation in both directions, just a lot of love and joy there. So it was definitely a highlight for me. And then on a totally 100% different note, Anne-Marie will be submitting registrations for the North Dakota School Board Association, I believe tomorrow. So please reach out and contact her if you have any changes in your travel plans before she makes the hotel reservations and submits that stuff for the conference. And that's all I have for you. So our next meeting will be September 23rd. It is 6:08 p.m. and we are adjourned.